Hello, everybody. Welcome to Virgins and the Village, a Sex and the City Watch podcast. My name is Alex Pittner, and I'm here for the sex.
And my name's Hayden Hartrick. I'm here for the city.
Everybody, thank you so much for giving us a listen.
Yes. Welcome.
A little bit about us. We're both comedians, both based in San Marcos, Texas.
We've done every form of comedy under the sun. And that under the sun includes sketch, stand-up, and improv. We both have probably about 20 minutes of material, polished material under our belts. Mm-hmm. Countless minutes of unpolished material. We both do improv every week. This is our second attempt, just to be for completely honest. This is our second recording of the opening, our little intro here. I accidentally hit a button on my mic that made us get a double Alex voice, which was not good. Alex, why don't you tell us a little bit about what this podcast is?
So essentially, we're just going to be watching Sex and the City, talking about the episodes, giving a little recap. So before we get into it, because as of right now, we have not watched the show.
That is true. We made the decision to do Sex and the City because I think it's the one show that actively appeals to our demographic, which is 20-something white males.
Yes, exactly. And I would like to know, Hayden, what is your past experience with Sex and the City?
Well, my past experience with Sex and the City, because this is definitely your first time hearing it, not your second time hearing it. I don't know that much about Sex and the City. I know it is a show traditionally written for women, and I know it's about women in the city. I presume that they have sex. The only prerequisite knowledge I have about the show, more than just little off jokes here and there in other popular media, is a Cracked.com web series called After Hours, which is a very funny web series where they talk about pop culture. It's very old, but I go back and rewatch it sometimes. And in their episode about Ninja Turtles, they talked about the Sex and the City women, called it porn for women, and that was what they talked about. So that's I'm going into this thinking this is porn for women.
Okay. My past experience is similar, with not the cracked stuff, but in terms of, I hear a lot of jokes about it in other media or on social media, people being like, oh my gosh, you're such a Samantha, like that type of deal. Mm-hmm. And I see myself being one of those people. The main reason I want to do this is because I see myself being somebody who's like, you're such a Carrie right now. But I feel like this just kind of fits into how I talk. Hayden, do you know anything about Sex and the City?
Sex and the City, I know it's a TV show. I know it originally aired on HBO, I presume, because it's on HBO Max. I know there's a character called Mr. Big who has a large penis, but I only know that because you told me that. And, no, I know nothing about the plot. I assume it has something to do with probably some other world. They're probably going to have a bunch of fights. Maybe a fun moment about friendship. It'll probably be animated. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking when we go into this.
Yeah. I have not seen a single minute of Sex and the City. Mm-hmm. All I know is that there's a character named Carrie. There's a character named Samantha. And I feel like the most common, you're such a whoever, is Samantha. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a character named Mr. Big. Mm-hmm. And piecing together what I've heard from other media, I think his plot is that his dick is so big that he can't find love. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even know what genre this is. I don't know if it's a comedy. I don't know if it's a drama.
I'm assuming it's probably a comedy.
Yeah.
Because, it's definitely going to have comedic elements. But I'm expecting this to be very similar to Gilmore Girls. By that I mean nothing in the terms of how it's written, but in the terms of how it's structured. I think it is going to have a serious storyline, but those women are going to tell a lot of jokes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
I think we're supposed to laugh, hopefully. I like laughing. I mean, it's going to be really depressing if us two comedians have to dissect an episode where some like real shit goes down that really touches on real world issues.
Yeah.
I'm not hoping that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Hayden, what do you want or what do you expect to get out of this podcast?
Well, I expect to get into the writer's room for the HBO remake of Sex and the City, or continuation of Sex and the City. Alex, you and I have discussed prior that the only reason this podcast exists is to get us into the writer's room, to each of us have, a whole line or 70 lines each.
Yes.
Or even as far as getting on the showrunner for the HBO remake. Personally, though, I think I know I'm going to have a weird, deep obsession with these characters by the end of the show. Mm-hmm. I know the way I watch TV and I know the way I watch shows like these is I'm going to start off watching it just for the laughs, and by the end of it, I'm going to legitimately care about these characters.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. Yeah, I would like to be, I think, we should be hired as a writer team for the HBO reboot. I think that this podcast will be an utter failure if I do not end up with a corner office in an HBO building. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, I am truly going into this hoping to fall in love with the show. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be, we're going to laugh about it.
Of course.
But I truly hope to like this show.
But you know what? I laugh about shows like Parks and Rec all the time, and that's because they're good shows and they're funny. Mm-hmm. I think we might start off laughing at it, but pretty soon we're going to be laughing with it.
I totally agree. And
we're going to be laughing with it.
We are going to take a second and we're going to watch the first episode. Mm-hmm. The first episode is called Sex and the City.
Ooh, I was not expecting that.
It originally aired on June 6th, 1998. It was directed by Susan Seidelman and written by Darren Star, who, fun fact, Darren Star is number 4 in terms of episodes of Sex and the City written.
And Darren Star, I don't want to assume, but that is a man, correct?
I believe so.
Speaking of the majority of people, are the majority of these writers men?
There are a lot of men. For instance, their name escapes me right now, but the main writer who wrote like 34 of the 60-ish episodes, at the very least has a traditionally masculine name.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That guy also wrote the first movie and the teleplay for the second movie. Whoa. Which the second movie, Darren Star, today's star, wrote the original story for.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Factoid. Alex is our resident factoid man. He's calling Mr. Factoid because he has factoids so big he can't sustain a girlfriend.
Exactly. That is painstakingly accurate.
But yes, he's going to come to us with little factoids about the episodes. I'm going in completely blind. Alex will have some facts here and there, and we're gonna just watch some episodes. So why don't we do that?
Why don't
us two registered virgins? Neither of us have had sex.
No.
I'll pinky promise on that right now. Neither of us have had sex. We're gonna watch Sex in the City. And then we'll be back to Virgins in the Village. See y'all in a second. And welcome back. We just finished with season 1, episode 1 of Sex in the City, entitled Sex in the City. Alex, what happened in this episode?
So, what happened in this episode? We open with a theme song that was pretty rockin', just an instrumental, and maybe 62 shots of Sarah Jessica Parker's face in different, just
reacting in a ballerina's outfit.
Exactly.
A billboard that said not Sarah Jessica Parker, but the Sex in the City. She knows about sex.
Yeah, Carrie Bradshaw.
I was very confused by that for a second until later in the episode.
Yes, so we meet Carrie Bradshaw, who is a journalist who writes a column called Sex and the City. And essentially, The episode begins with her telling a story about an English woman who sounded way more Australian to me than English, but whatever.
I wonder if that actress actually is American doing a British accent. I would not be surprised by that.
Yeah, because sometimes when I try to do a British accent, I'll slip into Aussie, and I feel like that's what happened, and they were just like, oh, fuck it, we'll keep it. We'll keep this.
No need for a take two.
No, that's fine.
Darren Star himself said
Yeah,
that.
actually, this was filmed like Birdman, where they did everything in one take. So Sarah Jessica Parker, aka Carrie Bradshaw, tells a story about basically two people, a guy and a girl, who start dating. Then the guy's mom gets sick, and he's like, sorry, I can't meet with you today. My mom is sick. And the girl has the most insincere, oh, I'm so sorry. Like,
And then he never calls her again for the next 2 weeks. And then she goes to Sarah Jessica Parker and is like,
yeah. And so then what happens is Sarah Jessica Parker, she basically starts telling stories, and we kind of meet different people in the city. Like we meet like eligible bachelors and toxic bachelors, and we kind of meet the other characters.
Our main cast of women.
Yes, exactly. Which consists of Carrie, Samantha, and then the two names I did not know, which I believe were Miranda and Charlotte.
Yes.
Yes. And so we see them having dinner, and
For Miranda's birthday.
Yes, for Miranda's birthday.
Happy birthday, Miranda.
Happy birthday, Miranda. And we see Samantha talking about how she, quote, has sex like a man, and that she has sex with people and then leaves them, no attachment or whatever, and they kind of...
Which is how I have sex.
Yeah, which is how we both have sex.
We both have sex.
Anyway, thank you for listening to Virgins in the Village, everyone.
Yes, we are both virgins.
We're both skippers. Sorry, well, we meet a character
We're going
named...
to get into that later.
We meet an internet nice guy named Skipper, is who we meet. And then Carrie is at lunch with a friend, and she sees someone who she previously had sex with, named Kurt. And before we move on with the recap, there was a line that legitimately I thought was funny. I laughed when she was like, Kurt was a mistake that I made when I was 25. And 27.
Yeah,
and 31. Yeah.
I thought that was a really good
That
line,
was
too.
funny.
That made me laugh.
Yeah, and so after that, we see that Charlotte is going on a date with a guy who seemed like he was really fucking rich, named Capote Duncan. And essentially they go back to his place, and Charlotte does not want to have sex. And so Capote's like, okay, I'll call you a cab. And then...
And we're both here like, man, this is a nice guy.
Yeah. And then when he gets to the cab, he's like, hey, actually, where are you heading? She's like, oh, 24th and 5th. And he's like... scoot over. And then he gets in, and then she's like, where are you going? He's like, I'm going to a club called Chaos. And she's like, what? He's like, I'm sorry, I really needed to have sex tonight. So, which we'll dive a bit more into this later. We're just doing a recap. So after that, we go to the club. Charlotte's there, her friend's there. She set up the internet nice guy Skippy
with her friend Miranda, who is the more like hot-headed of the bunch, the more angry of the bunch. I would say the more Raphael type.
Yes, yeah, for sure, Raphael.
Because she thinks that it's going to go terribly because Skipper is nice and Miranda thinks all men are assholes. And so they're playing off each other, and Miranda is, obviously not there for Skipper. Keeps calling him Skippy,
which is what I have been doing, I think.
And their date is not going well. Let's see, and then we cut back to. There's a whole other plot.
So what happened? So after she sees Kurt, the person who she made the mistake with several times,
she had sex with him like a man. Got off and then
her
left.
words. her words was had sex with him like a man.
Yes. Because there was no... What like a man means, if in further context, is not just having sex and then leaving after, but it's only getting your needs fulfilled and then leaving. Because in the aspect of the thing, she got oral, got off, and then left without giving him oral.
And as she leaves, she drops her purse.
And all of her condoms come spilling out.
All of her condoms come spilling out, and a do-gooder helps her pick up her things by only picking up the condoms and none of the other contents that she dropped.
I thought he picked up a pencil.
Did he?
Yeah.
Looked like he just picked up the condoms. He was like, all right, my work here is done. So anyway,
this is a handsome man, from Sarah Jessica Parker's own words.
yes, and as Sarah Jessica Parker walks away, she slaps her ass, and we get a very uncomfortable shot of the character who later is revealed to be Mr. Big.
Which was a fucking bombshell of a reveal.
Yeah, like smiling weirdly at her smacking her own ass. Mm-hmm. So then we're at the club, and Samantha is a very confident woman. That is how Carrie Bradshaw describes her. And Samantha sees Mr. Big and says a line that we're going to get to in a little bit. And she tries to go basically seduce Mr. Big. And Mr. Big soundly rejects her.
Very precisely puts her down with just like a one line, really like politely but also crushingly at the same time.
Yep.
Like it was a very polite letdown by words alone, at least I think. But like tone wise, it was crushing.
Yeah, it was like the verbal language was like okay, but the non-verbal language was like
I hate you. I would kill you if I had a gun.
Dunked on Samantha. So Samantha, looking for some sex, actually ends up going home with somebody, and it is Capote Duncan, the person who Charlotte had gone on a date with earlier that night.
Then Skipper and Miranda are leaving the club. Miranda's turning him down, basically.
Yeah.
Then she's walking away, and Skipper, who Sarah Jessica Parker's character's name is... Carrie. I'm going to have to probably ask for names a lot, because I'm not the best. Carrie is like doing her little voiceover thing and being like... But Skipper was really smitten, so as Miranda's walking away, he grabs her arm and pulls her in for the most awkward kiss, where they don't kiss, but they just slam each other's lips against each other. And at first, Alex and I were both like, oh, that's not okay, Skipper. But then Miranda was into it.
Yeah, which I do not like how that is a consistent thing in movies and TV, where someone does something that is completely not okay, and then it's like, whatever.
But she likes him.
Into it. I'm like, no. You can't do that.
But then the episode ends with Sarah Jessica Parker. One more time on the name.
Carrie Bradshaw.
Carrie. With Carrie, she got no sex that night, so she's about to walk home. And before she can walk home, before she can't get a taxi, so before she walks home, who other? Mr. Big himself pulls up in his little, his car. He's not driving because he's too rich. He has a driver.
But it's not a limo.
It's not a limo. It's a car.
They got a black car. I don't think they could afford the limo, but the guy in front is like dressed like Alfred from Batman. But they couldn't afford the limo.
And he takes her home. He drops her off. There's a freeze frame on Carrie for about 5 seconds, and then the episode ended.
Although before the episode ends, she's talking to Mr. Big about how she's now having sex like a man, and she asks Mr. Big if he's into that, and Mr.
Like,
Big is like,
not at all.
No.
Not one drop.
Yeah.
He says.
Yes, not one drop. And she's like, what? And he's like, have you ever been in love? And that, Carrie Bradshaw's words, takes the wind out of her sails. And then later, she gets out of the car, and then she like turns to Mr. Big before he drives away, and she's like, have you ever been in love?
And he says, Abso-fucking-lutely.
And then the car drives away.
Immediately, the driver knew. I was really hoping that he would say that, and then the driver would just be like, "What? I go now? I go now."
The driver has a great sense of dramatic timing.
Of course.
Yeah, Mr. Big was sitting there after Kara got out of the car, like, why aren't we?
He's like, "Sir,
I'm not. Are you driving my window? Are you turning my window down, driver? Have you ever been in love? Absolutely." And the driver's like, "Yes, perfect, one take." fucking peels out.
But that's a bit about what happened in this episode. The sex count for this episode was 3. There were 3 sex scenes in this episode. I'm gonna try to keep a sex count for every episode. So if you were just horny, you'll know which episodes to watch.
I like having an ongoing sex count.
Yeah.
Which, something about this episode that, for me, right at the beginning, picked up on this. I fucking love the music in this show. It's like all, at the very least, from this episode, I don't know about the show going forward, but it's all like New York jazz lounge music.
Yeah. And I love New York jazz lounge music.
Yeah, it is. It's really fantastic. I thought the opening was really great. Let's just dive in, getting a little bit deeper into some of the things. We both have our own little notes here. Yes.
First and foremost, this episode was not only written by Darren Star, but the entire show as a whole was created by Darren Star.
I have the factoids. I can tell you that Darren Star wrote 14 episodes, and I didn't know he created the fucking show.
Yeah.
So,
which, I mean, I don't think IMDb has a creator section, or maybe it does.
I was not on IMDb. I purely looked at the episode list on Wikipedia purely because I wanted the writer count numbers.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, you hand counted those?
I did.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I had little tally marks and everything.
Very fun. Let's talk about this episode, man. This again, as I said in my prediction, there was lots of moments I did actually truly enjoy. Mm-hmm. There were jokes that made me laugh, not because I was laughing at them, but laughing with them. I thought there was a couple of really funny lines.
Yeah, actually, Hayden, overall, before we do some deep dives, did you like the episode? How did you feel about Sex and the City as of right now?
Well, I mean, obviously, this episode, you don't really get a lot of, like, we didn't delve deep into anything. It still felt like it was just really an establishing episode, but I felt like the characters were decently established.
I agree.
You hit everybody. I have some threads I think are going to be played out more. Like, obviously, I think Miranda and Skipper are going to have an on-again, off-again thing. I think that might be one of the main dramatic things because they seem to be foils of each other. Mm-hmm. And that's a really great way to write relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also one of those threads, of course, is Charlotte and Samantha both being with... I keep having to look up his name because his last name is Duncan, but his first name is like Capote.
Capote. Yeah. There's going to be the jealousy aspect of being like, why'd you sleep with Capote?
Well, we don't know, but I do think that's going to be a thing. Cause so overall, I have to say, I loved it. Mm-hmm. That is definitely a pilot, an episode of TV that left me wanting more.
Uh-huh.
I had so much fun watching this show.
Yeah. So what's something we do during the show is we watch it together, but we bar each other from talking during the episode because we want to make sure we save everything. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many times we would both we looked at each other, or I just got the sense like Alex and I's collective mind thought of something and we would laugh, and then we couldn't talk about that because we wanted to save it for here. But I did thoroughly enjoy my time watching this episode.
Me too.
Some of the things let's go into a little bit of things I wrote down here. The line in this little prequel story, there was the guy when he meets the girl at an art gala, which, by the way, I'm thinking that story is an analog for something in Carrie's life.
Ooh.
I'm thinking that's going to be revealed to be a retelling of something that happened to her and why she thinks love isn't something that's there.
Okay.
but he says London is my favorite city as his pickup line. And it works.
Yeah, that was
and they cut to, like, from that scene, they cut to, like, sex after that.
Yeah, it's like 3 lines of dialogue of like, are you?
Do I know you? And she's like, kangaroos.
Yeah. I think he's like, do I know you? And she's like, not likely. I'm from London. And he goes, London's my favorite city in the world. And she goes, I think I do know you. And then it cuts to them fucking.
Yeah.
It's just, that's all it took.
Yeah.
Just to say that, just to lie about your favorite city.
Well, we don't know. It could very well be his favorite city.
That's true, but the way he said it was so bad.
I think Sarah Jessica Parker has a different. Her voice does not match her face in my head.
Oh, really? I thought it works perfectly.
Because I was hearing this whole opening monologue, right? And I don't know. I just kept. For some reason, the monologue voice doesn't match Sarah Jessica Parker in my head.
You think so?
I really thought her voice would just be a little bit deeper.
I think is fun. As a matter of fact, you touching on the fact that she's narrating it, throughout the show, Sarah Jessica Parker turns to the camera and talks, a la like Malcolm in the Middle or something, where it's like an active narrator.
I was gonna say House of Cards, but then I didn't want to think about Kevin Spacey.
That I loved that.
Yeah.
Her talking to the camera. I thought that was in my opinion, I thought that was a lot of fun, and that made me way more excited for this show.
I wouldn't say I don't know if I necessarily love it, but I didn't dislike it.
Okay.
I think it'll lead to some interesting things. I think hopefully they don't keep her they don't keep her omniscient. I think it'd be really interesting if you can really see that this is, because I assume what the aspect of this is we are supposedly reading her column.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see how they play with that narrator aspect of it.
I agree. Also, I wrote down when we first, so 2 things about Kurt, the mistake that she made at 25, 26, He made me want to crawl out of my skin.
Yeah.
He was the most uncomfortable person.
That man has so many different faces. When he first came on, I looked at him and I said, "Oh, that's Matthew McConaughey." And then it wasn't. And then he took his cigarette out of his mouth, and I was like, "Oh wait, that's Brad Pitt from Fight Club." And then it wasn't. And every time he would like move or the lighting would change, he would start looking like a different male actor from the 90s.
I had the same thing. I was looking at him and I was like, Brad Pitt? And then I was like, Keith Urban? I don't know country, but it's some country star that I was like, what? And so when Carrie goes up to seduce him, this made me laugh really hard. She goes, "What are you doing tonight?" And he's like, "Nothing." And she's like, "What do you say I come over to your place?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What time?" And he's like, "How about 3?" His definition of tonight is 3 p.m. His evening is 11 o'clock.
They had 3 o'clock sex. The sex was early enough that she was able to get out of the sex by saying, "I have to go back to work."
Yeah.
Which I don't know a lot about sex.
No.
But I don't, like, I mean, I guess casual sex is its own thing, but 3 o'clock seems like such an odd time. That's like the middle of the day. Like, you should be in the middle of something then.
I am just obsessed with tonight is
3
3 p.m. to fucking Kurt.
Oh.
And so when they have sex, as we talked about earlier, Kurt performs oral on Carrie Bradshaw, and
He comes up red.
When he comes up, he comes out from under the covers. He goes, "Alrighty," which
My turn.
yeah, but my turn was like, "Oh geez," but him. alrighty felt like something that I would say after sex.
coming up red in the face, like it looks like to get ready for this scene, he like gave himself the verge of an aneurysm, like he edged himself on, giving himself an aneurysm, and then popped up from the sheets like a dolphin coming out of the water,
Free Willy style, just to be like,
Free Willy with his freed willy.
With his freed willy. They should make a spin-off about how he got blue-balled called Caged Willy. POV.
That's our episode. Our first episode of the remake is called Caged Willy.
It's POV, you're Kurt's dick, and you just see black from his pants for 2 hours.
It's like one of those like offshoot episodes that is like does a different style, and it's a POV, but you're a penis for the entire episode. Exactly. So you just hear muffled voices for 25 minutes, and then you get unsheathed to Sarah Jessica Parker just in your face.
Oh no! But I liked Sarah Jessica Parker. I thought she was
I thought
great.
The character of Carrie was very good. I did in my notes for Kurt. I did just write "fuck Kurt."
Yeah, I don't like.
I don't like him either.
So something I have to say, and I want to know how you felt about this line, because I couldn't call it whether. So I thought it was fucking awesome. But you might, and as a film major, you might be like, nah, Alex, that was cheesy and stupid. When she's describing the club that they go to, which is called Chaos, I believe, she says it's like Cheers, where everybody knows your name, but they're probably going to forget it 5 minutes later. Mm-hmm. Do you think that was cheesy or awesome? Because I fucking loved it.
I thought it was cheesy in a fun way. Like, I didn't think it was a line that, like, really threw me off. I wasn't, like... I thought it was okay. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a setup. I don't know if the joke really landed as well with. It's one of those ones that it was definitely one that like took me a second, because like I believe that the whole joke is it's like Cheers, where everybody knows your name, but they're likely to forget it 5 minutes later or something like that. And that took me out for a second. I was like, but then I got it. I don't know. I thought it was fun.
I liked it.
I mean, I think it was a good way to establish the actual chaos, which I figure. Chaos is going to be a returning place.
Yes. Now I think it's time.
In Chaos, yeah. There's when we're being introduced to Mr. Ross, aka Mr. Big. Carrie and Samantha are actually having a conversation about him, and she says, Samantha, it's like, I want to go sleep with that guy, and we get to a Carrie voiceover in which he says. He's like a younger, more attractive Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think the voiceover is describing him as like rich and stuff, but I think it's Samantha who's like, he's like a young Donald Trump, like getting prepared. Uh-huh. And I was like, look out, America!
And I both start cracking up laughing. And I wrote my note for that is, that is what I wrote down. Because the line that immediately follows after is talking about how he's like confident and stuff, and she's like, it's the thing that makes a man want to run for president.
It fully, I can't believe I didn't make that connection. It fully says that. And my note, you wrote, I wrote, look out, America. You thought the Trump administration was awful? Guess what?
It's about to get bigger.
It's about to get big. Imagine if this guy was running and his like campaign slogan was like, making America big. He's like running as the character, not the actor.
Yeah, he's also running as like an imperialist party that he wants to like take over Canada.
We're gonna make America bigger. We're gonna conquer regions. Also, something I wanted to note about this show. This show has portrayed New York having a population of about 25 plus, because the characters are running into each other constantly. She runs into Kurt at the luncheon just because, and at Chaos just because. Mm-hmm. And then Mr. Big,
runs in outside of Kurt's apartment building.
Yes. And then later at Chaos.
Well, I mean, I figure that's probably because they run in the same circles. Probably, right?
I don't know, because he's fucking rich.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, this is a very specific reference. When it's doing like it does this little segment at the beginning where you meet like these different douchebags. And it'll be like
Toxic Bachelors is what they're titled.
Yeah, he'll like be like, yeah, I don't want to, women are old and I'm trying to have sex. And then it'll like free frame and it'll be like Derek Mason, Toxic Bachelor, right? One of those toxic, which those guys were like
the highlight of the episode for me.
I wrote down, like, they're doing a good job making me hate because those people were the fucking worst. But one of the guys, he, like, talks to the camera while he's rock climbing. And to me, he sounded just like, for a second, I truly thought that it was the dude from Scam School, which is a YouTube channel that teaches magic tricks. Which, again, this podcast is called Virgins in the Village.
That man he's rock climbing. He has like the nice guy attitude, talking about like, why don't women go for fat, ugly guys? And it's intercut with Miranda being like, well, they're just as terrible as the attractive men, but they just look like they have the same personality as the attractive men, which I thought, like, that's a fun point. Like, yeah, people that have that mentality, that nice guy mentality of like, hey, why don't women ever go for the unattractive guys? Are just the worst.
Yeah.
But that man is wearing a blue bandana, and I swear, the moment you see the first shot of him, it's a profile. Before he looks at the camera, he looks exactly like Prison Mike from The Office. Like, he looks like Steve Carell.
We both were like, that was a moment where we like looked at each other and we're like, what the fuck?
Is that Steve Carell?
That's Steve Carell. It wasn't.
It's not Steve Carell.
But yeah, it was full Prison Mike.
Yeah. That's wild. That little freeze frame bit, that opening, I thought that's what really made me enjoy the episode, right? Was these little freeze frames. There was one with Miranda. I specifically wrote down, there was one with Miranda where she was standing in a buffet line, like picking up food, and then she starts talking, and there's a whole line behind her, and she's in the middle of the buffet, and these poor extras had to just sit there and pick up lettuce like 7 times because the scene was long. Like, it was a lot of lines.
It was very long.
And she's just standing in the middle of the buffet, throwing around the tongs, and I'm like, God damn it, Miranda, move out of the way.
What made me laugh is it looked like it was a salad bar.
Yeah.
And I think her bowl had salad, but then the thing that she picked up to gesture the most was a drumstick chicken wing. Which is like, what? You're not going to put that in the salad. There's a bone in it. There's a bone in it, Miranda.
I don't know. I think Miranda would eat through a bone. I think that she's got that kind of personality.
You're right. Miranda doesn't take shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are completely correct. Which, I will say, so far, if the main cast is the 4 of Carrie, Miranda, Charlotte, and Samantha, I like everybody in the main cast. I want to get to know Charlotte more. I felt like we did not see enough of Charlotte.
Charlotte seems like the pure one, right? Like the one that is like, we're not, but
she's the odd one out.
Yeah, because she's the only one that is like, I don't want to have sex like a man. I want to have romance, which I'm like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, and also there's a moment where they're talking about how they love this movie, and she's like, I hated that movie. So she seems like, the odd one out of the group, which made me feel for Charlotte. Also, I think she looks kind of like Julie Louis-Dreyfus from Seinfeld and Veep. So I think I felt like I knew her character purely because, I love Seinfeld and Veep.
Speaking of characters, I do want to touch right before, because we are running out of time for this little segment, before we go on to our final segment of talking about the show, I want to talk about Skipper for a second.
Okay.
Because when Skipper was introduced, I feel like you and I both had very similar thoughts. Because Skipper also gives off this, like, nice guy aesthetic.
He's literally, when you meet him, his freeze frame is him next to a computer that I think is got on eHarmony or some shit.
Yeah, and he's described he's a website whatever, and he's a hopeless romantic, which immediately made me relate to Skipper.
Really?
Yeah, I consider myself a hopeless romantic.
That's fair. Do that, but not Skipper, because Skipper's kind of the worst.
You think Skipper's the worst? I was endeared to Skipper
because I think
Skipper has like he's this naive little man who doesn't know like how to be in a relationship, and I think we're gonna get some good out of Skipper. I think he's gonna have a good little arc, but I'm endeared to him. I think he's like a nice guy, but without like. I think he's legitimately, like, he, obviously, don't get me wrong, he presents with a nice guy, quotation mark, aesthetic of being like, ooh, women. I think the video might have just gone out, but that's fine. But he gives off this nice guy aesthetic, while also, I think it legitimately is just a decent guy. I mean, I could be proved wrong because he did grab and pull Miranda into a kiss.
Exactly.
But I feel like that's going to be played off as though that was a good thing. So I'm endeared to Skipper. I want to see him get better.
I don't know, man. He was talking with Carrie Bradshaw at the coffee shop, and he was like, women never like nice guys. Women never like nice guys. And then when she was like, then he's like, do you have any of your friends that you can set me up with? I was like, stop. Skipper,
yeah, and
I hate you now.
She's like, oh, all my friends are my age. And he's like, I like older women.
Oh, something that did not endear me to Carrie Bradshaw was she goes, oh, you're into older women? Okay. And then she sets him up with Miranda. And she says in the voiceover that she knew it was going to go terribly and that Miranda was going to hate Skipper. Which
why?
You're a bad...
Like Carrie...
Because Skipper's a nice guy.
Okay, but look, if Carrie, because they're setting up that Carrie legitimately likes Skipper, like not like likes him, but
she's
like
his friend, yeah.
she's friends with him, and if she wanted to actually I feel like that's an asshole thing to do. Like regardless of who it is, if you're gonna set somebody up, but it worked out for Skipper and it worked out for Miranda because apparently I think that's going to be a relationship whether you like it or not.
We'll see. We'll see.
We're about 30 minutes in, so we're going to go ahead and move on.
Actually, can we talk about...
We got one more thing?
One more thing. Okay? At the end of the episode, when Carrie can't get a cab, and she's like, I think I'm going to have to walk home. And Mr. Big pulls up in his fucking Toyota that they're trying to make look like a limo. She has met Mr. Big one time, and that was when he picked up condoms for her when she dropped her purse at the street. And then he saw her from across the club. And then in a dark alleyway in the middle of the night in New York City, a stranger rolls down the window and he looks at Carrie and he goes, well, get in the car for Christ's sakes. And Carrie smiles and gets into this stranger's fucking car. Which I was like, Carrie, Carrie, I love you, but maybe don't.
Maybe don't.
Maybe don't.
Maybe don't.
But yeah, that is episode 1 of Sex and the City.
So before we move on to our next little segment here, we have, something we gotta do is, who are you this episode, Alex? Who am I this episode? And then I'll tell you who you are.
Okay. This episode, I think... You know what? This episode, I feel like a Charlotte. I have to say, I feel like a Charlotte.
Oh, okay.
Who do you feel like?
I also feel like a Charlotte, maybe with elements of Skipper. Only the good elements, though. Only the parts that made me endeared to him. But I think if I were to say who you are this episode,
okay,
I wrote it down.
Okay,
I think you are Samantha this episode.
Really?
I say that only because when it flashed her name, it said she was a PR executive and you're a communications major.
I had the same thought. I didn't bring it up, but yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that this episode, purely because you have talked about it, you're Skipper, but because you know tech and stuff and you are a hopeless romantic, all right, you're the positive elements of Skipper.
I like that.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to our next segment here. This is the Virgins part of Virgins in the Village. We don't have a title for this segment, right? We just call it the Virgin segment.
This is the Virgin segment.
This is the Virgin segment. This is a segment where we talk about things that aren't Sex in the City. We talk about our own little interest here for the next 15, 30 minutes. We're going to talk about the things that interest us. So, you want me to start?
Yeah, what have you brought to the table?
So I brought to the table something I did today, which is I finished my playthrough of Persona 5 Royale.
That's a big game.
That is a big game. It has been consuming my life for about the past week or so. When I first got it, I played through Persona 5 Vanilla, so this is my second time experiencing the story, but then Royale added a bunch of new elements. It's my second time playing through. Within the first couple days I had the game, I played it for 30 hours. I have pulled actually a couple all-nighters playing it because it was the only thing I could do when my sleep schedule was really off to try to fully fix it. I played it. My final playthrough time ended at 106 hours and 2 minutes.
Gosh.
If you haven't played Royale, you should play it. It's a JRPG. It's so much fun. The characters are so wonderful. I didn't date the teacher this time. I don't know if I told you, but I was very proud of myself for not pursuing a relationship with Kawakami, because I did that in the first game, and I literally, when it got to that segment of the game, and I finished her confidant rank, and I had the option to do it, I stopped the game, texted a close friend of ours who has also played the game, and said, should I date Kawakami? And he said, don't do it. And I was like, but it's Kawakami.
Yeah, don't.
But I didn't.
Good job.
I decided to hold off, and I ended up dating Kasumi, who is the new waifu in the game, the new confidant in the game. And that was fun. I had a whole lot of fun. I almost started crying when the game ends, and you know, I don't want to spoil anything because friends of ours who might not have finished the game might listen to this podcast. But it's a great game. It made me almost cry. The new content that they added, the new story that they added for the Royale version of the game, wonderful stuff.
Yeah, Hayden has been super excited for this. Hayden talks about Persona in a way that truly makes me a little bit nervous sometimes, because you'll be like, sorry, I gotta go hang out with my friends.
I always say my Persona friends.
Well, there are times when I don't know what you're talking about, and then I'll see that you're playing PS4, and I'll be like, oh.
That's really funny because a little bit, if I can go off real quick, I bought a PS5 recently, specifically because I had a I had a PS4. I bought Persona 5 Royale on Black Friday. I brought it back up here to San Marcos, put it in my PS4, and was so high. I've been looking forward to this game for a year, and I was trying to mess around with some TV settings, and then my PlayStation 4's display chip busted, which is an unfixable issue. And that was at the height of the PS5 thing. So I've been looking for a PS5 for months, and I legitimately almost started crying because I realized I wouldn't get to hang out with my Persona friends.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing at you, but at the same time,
they're characters that you really
love, yeah.
You're also, it's a JRPG, so it's designed to be a self-insert, so you really feel you're getting to know these characters. Mm-hmm. But I am stepping away from the game. I don't think I will touch it again for quite some time, because it definitely does fill you up. It really fills you up. But Alex, what did you bring for us for this the Virgin segment?
So for the Virgin segment this week, Hayden, you know that a lot of things happen in my life that makes my life seem like it is a sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much all of my stand-up material is just the oddities that have happened in my life.
Yeah.
Now, Hayden, the original thing that I was going to bring to the table today was a tabletop role-playing game system that I found that I liked. But one of those things happened today on my way here. Hayden, I am a big fan of anime, as you know. I love anime. I am a big fan also of hip-hop music.
Mm-hmm.
Hip-hop rap music is truly one of my favorite things about being alive. I love hip-hop, R&B so much, mainly the hip-hop side, but I dabble in R&B so much. I love, I can't. Again, as I said, one of my favorite parts about being alive. All right. I was listening to a Big Sean song on the way here that I had never heard before. I've been obsessed with this song called Blessings, it's by Big Sean, but it features Drake and Kanye. So I've been super obsessed with that song when it came out, and then also recently. And so I was listening to the album it's off of, because I listen to a lot of solo Big Sean stuff. And on a song called Paradise, he happens to say the words, "I'm going Super Saiyan."
Mm-hmm.
And this song was already pretty hype. And then when he brought in something that is very near and dear to me, Dragon Ball Z, I let out like a woo, like a what, but like so loud.
Uh-huh.
Like I jumped out of my seat, but I was in a car.
Uh-huh. Were you driving or were you stopped?
I was driving. I was stopped. Like I was driving, but I was at a stoplight, which is gonna become important right now. I lost it. Like I was, like I really went for it. And then I look over to my left, and there is a kindly looking older fellow who looks to be about like 50, late 50s, early 60s, and he has rolled his window down next to me, and he's looking at me, and he like does like the symbol for roll it down. And I rolled it down. He was like, he was like, "Is everything okay? Are you okay?"
Oh, bless this man. Like he was concerned for you.
He was worried. He was a caring human being who thought there was a stranger in need and was ready to drop stuff to be there for me as a human being. And I had to be like, "I'm okay. It's Big Sean," and then I rolled my window up. All because Big Sean said, "I'm going Super Saiyan." And it was a moment that brought me a lot of joy.
That's good. I'm glad for you.
Which also, it is like the coldest in like Hayes County. Then it's like been in like a decade right now.
Yeah.
It's like,
no, it's cold out here, y'all.
Yeah, it's below freezing in Texas. And the guy rolled his window down in that weather
To check on you.
to check on me, which is truly beautiful.
You know what? That's nice.
Let's get him on the podcast.
Let's get him on the podcast. Mr. Carman, I'd like to say you're probably the Mr. Big of this episode.
You know what? I agree.
Yeah.
We should every episode.
We should nominate a Mr. Big.
nominate a Mr. Big.
Uh-huh. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
Because regardless of how Mr. Big is as a character, because obviously he's going to be a dick at some point because he's Mr. Big. You don't have a name like Mr. Big where you're not going to screw over Carrie one of these episodes. But I think regardless, we should find somebody in our week, in our whatever, nominate them as the Mr. Big.
I think actually we should do it depending on how we feel about Mr. Big. As of right now, I like Mr. Big. He seems like a cool guy. And just like the kindly fellow who rolled the window down to check on me, that's our Mr. Big.
That's our Mr. Big.
And that is also our episode.
Yes.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Like, I know that I mean, it's like
There
a
are thousands of podcasts out
yeah,
there.
it's a meme now that everyone's starting a podcast. So even if you just stumbled onto this, thank you so much, and
Thank you.
I love you.
Mom, for watching, because I know I'm going to send you this, and I know that you care about me enough to
Carrie
about me enough to watch this whole thing.
She Carrie Bradshaw'd you in her womb for 9 months.
See Sarah Jessica parked in front of my school sometimes and waited for me to come out so she could pick me up. And thank you for everybody for watching this. We'll see you next week, probably.
Yeah.
We're going to try to release this weekly.
On Samantha, another episode. This one we'll see you.
Damn it, I thought I was going to have the last pun, the last name pun.
Miranda, another episode. Charlotte, let me make another episode and
I'm
put it
going
in your
to
podcast feed.
skip this next week. Yeah, that's good. All right, bye, y'all. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Love you.